Good morning, everyone, and welcome to What Is It Wednesday. I didn't fool any of you this week, and I'm so glad you were all correct when you guessed our Trivia Tuesday yesterday. This is, in fact, a handle of a sword, a beautiful handle, and I'm going to go very close because this is a shark skin handle. Isn't that beautiful? Into focus right there. Who would know that shark skin looks like tiny little glass beads all put up together like that? This sword right here is a ceremonial sword, a dress sword from the Civil War. And this is Captain Andrew Upson's sword. We're going to be talking about him and the Civil War and the parts of the collection at the Barnes Museum that relate to Captain Andrew Upson. You can see the sword is, of course, very dull. It is upside down, but it does have US right there. And this is completely beautifully etched sword, a ceremony sword. We have every single piece to it. Now, let me tell you who Captain Andrew Upson is. This dapper looking gentleman is our Captain Andrew Upson. And why do we have his things in the house? Well, Captain Andrew Upson was Leela Holcomb Upson Barnes's grandfather, and Leela was Bradley's wife. She was the last woman of the house. Again, she was an Upson, and she and Bradley married in 1910. She truly married into the right family because the Bradley and the Barnes family, of course, loved to collect things and just keep every single scrap of everything and every artifact and paper that they ever had, which creates this very unique museum. Well, Leela's family did the exact same thing. So we have a lot of war memorabilia in the house, specifically related to the Upson side of the family. Captain Andrew Upson, of course, as we just said, was a captain in the Civil War. Leela's brother also fought in World War I, and we do have an extensive collection of World War I memorabilia as well. So we saw Captain Andrew Upson's beautiful sword, but one of the most unique things that we have from Captain Upson are his Civil War letters. And right here, this is, and I'm sorry, please excuse the glare of my cell phone here, this is an actual letter that Captain Upson wrote. And we have 151 letters from Captain Andrew Upson. And if you are a history buff, like I hope many of you are for following us as a museum, you can go on our website, thebarnesmuseum.org, and you can see the Civil War letters. You will see the copies of the scanned versions of these letters, and then you will also be able to have a chance to have the transcriptions, and you can read the transcriptions. Andrew was a Yale graduate, and he was a very eloquent speaker. Thank you so much. We have a comment that says, I love the museum. Thank you so much. We love it too. Captain Andrew Upson was a very eloquent speaker. He was very well written, and his letters speak of what a huge supporter he was of human rights and the war effort being fought at home. What was happening to the families and the supporters of the war. Now, I said he was a Yale graduate. Again, please excuse the glare, but this right here is Andrew Upson's Yale College degree from 1849, folks. So if we go very close, yes, it's a little wrinkly. It is the type of material that the college degree was printed on. Over the years, it gets very wrinkly, but this is a Yale College degree. We have a lot of memorabilia from Yale as well, when it was a college and then later when it turned into a university. And several family members did go to Yale. On both sides of the family, on the Bradley and the Barnes side of the family, and of course on the Andrew Upson side of the family as well. Andrew was a captain in the Civil War, and he didn't start off as a captain. He started off as a recruiting lieutenant, and he fought for the 20th Connecticut Volunteer Infantry out of Hartford. A lot of our Southington boys went up and fought for the 20th. And Andrew was captured and actually spent 2 weeks in Libby prison, one of the most infamous and hard prisons to be in during the Civil War. He spent 2 weeks and then was released and sent back to his unit. He was given a promotion to captain, and he fought for Company K for the 20th. He joined the service in 1862, and his diary entries start in 1862. And so do his letters. In fact, this letter that I happen to have is from September 2nd of 1862. Speaking of Libby Prison, we have some whittling here. Now, during the Civil War, whittling, and for almost 100 years, really, and still continues today, whittling became a very interesting pastime. Prisoners would take wood and they would whittle it down. These are two examples of whittling that was done during the Civil War. These are all made out of one piece of wood. Now, this one right here would have had another piece of wood. You can see the broken part right here. So the whittling would take an entire, exactly, they have these woods. They would whittle the wood down, and they would whittle the balls so they would be trapped. There's no way to get those out. Obviously, there is now that this is broken. But this is a beautiful design, very reminiscent of the Civil War. And then we have a continual chain. Now, this chain is even jointed. This piece right here on the end spins. All of this, one whole piece of wood, is all interconnected. There are no seams. There were no seams. There wouldn't be, because again, this chain came from one piece of wood. We talked about those diary entries from Hylgranis, but what's interesting about the museum and the diaries, we have 52 family diaries, and we also have these two diaries right here. These are from Hylgranis, and Mr. Hylgranis was part of the regiment that served and knew, was out of Southington and served and knew Andrew Upson. And these tell of Andrew Upson's unfortunate death. Now, Andrew did not make it home with the rest of his regiment. He was mortally wounded in the Battle of Tracy City, Tennessee in late January of 1864, and he later died of his wounds on February 19th of that same year. His body was transferred back to Southington. He came home by March 1st, and on March 1st, his funeral was held at First Congregational Church right here in downtown Southington. In an interesting twist of fate, we not only have Hylgranis' diary entries, but we also have Alice Bradley's diary entries regarding Andrew Upson. So this might get a little confusing, but bear with me. Alice was Bradley Barnes's mother. In 1864, Alice was a young girl, and she of course, was not married. She had not had Bradley yet, and she had no idea of knowing that Andrew Upson would be her relative someday. But she did attend his funeral, as many people in Southington did on March 1st of 1864. What she did, however, is write about it in her diary entry. So on March 1st of 1864, her diary states that she went to school as usual in the morning, but in the afternoon, school did not keep, as the funeral of Andrew Upson was to be attended. And then she goes on to describe how beautiful the flowers were, how packed the church was. So you can imagine what a large event it was, having such a prominent soldier in the war have a funeral right here in Southington. Now, we're going to open this up right here. This is, again, Hylgranis' diary from 1864. And I know it's very difficult to read, but this actually says, midway down right here, Captain Andrew Upson died last Friday night. And word had come down a little slow. So this is February 22nd. Andrew Upson died on February 19th. So of course it takes much longer for information to spread back in the 1800s. Today it happens instantaneously all the time, but it did take several days. Misinformation also would come down. When Andrew was mortally wounded in Tracy City in late January, word had come down he was so wounded that people just said he died. But he didn't die. Unfortunately, again, he did survive for another 3 weeks. So these diary entries are interesting because before the 22nd of February, it says, hey, word came down, Andrew Upson passed away. And then he said, oh, nope, word came down, he's actually just mortally wounded, or we're just really, really wounded, we're hoping he's going to be okay. And then word came down, unfortunately, on the 22nd that he did actually pass. And again, if we go here on the bottom, the very last line, or the very last 3 lines, it says, thus has passed one of the best officers to serve the regiment. Wonderful example of history right here. And now, folks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my all-time favorite item in the Barnes Museum. We have tens of thousands of artifacts of material culture here and documentation and archives. And this right here, out of everything in the house, is my favorite. And the reason is because it's so personal and it is so unique. This, again, excuse the glare, this is not a copy. This is not a print. This is a hand-drawn sketch of the battlefield of Tracy City. And this was made by one of Andrew's infantrymen. And you can see the Tracy City had different sections of the battlefield, but on the bottom, there are these tiny little words. And these words right over here say that there is a number 1. And if you look closely, do you see under that hill? There's a little number 1 right there written in it. That number 1 represents where Andrew was shot. And then the words on the bottom say there's a number 2 where Andrew Upson was carried off to. So there's the number 1. And if we go all the way over to this little house or shack right here, you see the number 2 carefully written underneath that shack. This is a unique piece of history representing the fall of what many people thought was the best soldier to serve the regiment. We thank all soldiers here at the Barnes Museum for their dedication and love and sacrifice through every conflict throughout the years. And we are proud to have such wonderful information here at the Barnes Museum. Again, if you are interested in the Civil War letters, please visit us at thebarnesmuseum.org, and you can go to the Civil War letters tab and you can read these for yourself. There is a ton of information on them. And again, congratulations to everyone who guessed our Trivia Tuesday. Captain Andrew Upson's dress sword from the Civil War, 1864, shark skin handled sword. Have a wonderful week, folks, and we look forward to seeing you next week.